In this video, I'll be demonstrating the use of the Modified Simple Gantt, or MSG, system for short. So the MSG system is a online tool to allow for the entry of project schedule information to create a Gantt chart. It's like a very simple version of Microsoft Project. So I'm just going to go over the basics of it here. So in the upper left-hand corner is information about the schedule. So we'll start there. The project name goes here. So you should just enter the name, your company or organization, and yourself or the project manager name goes here. Okay. The schedule start, this shows, this is indicating to MSG when your schedule is starting, and it can be any day during the week. So you can see over here, just for a moment, you can see in the Gantt chart information, you can see that the first week is defaulting in this instance to the week starting April 11th, and the current date for today is April 22nd, and that's indicated by the red line. So let's say that we wanted to start the week of April 18th, then I would just type in here, April 18th, and that starts it in that week. And that's normally what you should do, is just set your starting week. You can also display a subsequent week. For example, you can scroll across here. But if you want to do that very quickly, you can say start in week 5, and the weeks 1 to 4 are still there, but it just scrolls over faster for you. So it's whatever you would like to do there. The schedule has 2 different approaches that can be taken to the schedule. There is the 7-day work week, where work can be scheduled on any day of the week, or you can have a 5-day work week, where there are weekends, and you can see the weekends, the non-working days, are signified in the darker black color. So we'll just put it back to 7-day work week for our demonstration. Okay, so now let's start the process of entering schedule information. So you can see there are 3 levels of information here: the phase, the work package, and the task or activity information. So the phase, or again, different schedules can have different phases and so on. We'll start with the initiating phase. There. Work package, again, every project has different work packages. Let's say that one of our work packages in the initiating phase is a business case. Okay, and then we list the 1 or more tasks that are for that creating the business case. So let's say we're going to develop options. Here in the assigned to field, it's who's going to be working on it. You only have a limited amount of space, so I suggest using short forms or initials and so on. So, you know, let's say that there's 1 person, initials PG, are working on this. The durations, these are whole numbers. The system doesn't support fractions and so on. So it's 1, 2, 3, etc. So let's say this is a 3-day duration. The progress, this is the percentage complete. Let's say we're doing this in the future. At this point, we're at 0%. And then the start date. Okay, so this is the start of the project. Now you can enter either, in this case, and for the first activity, it's normal to enter a date. So let's say this starts. It's going to start on, it was scheduled to start, say, on Thursday of the current week. So that would be April 21st. So we will enter April 21st. And if it's in the current year, you don't have to enter the year. Okay, now you'll notice something happened there. So two things happened. One is the end date was automatically filled in, and you never need to enter an end date in MSG. In fact, don't, right? There is if you look up here, a rather long formula that is in that end date. Do not copy on top of it or enter on top of it. You'll stop MSG from working effectively, and it's not protected, so it will allow you to change it. You just shouldn't change it. So always leave the end date below. The other thing is this bar appeared in the Gantt chart, and it shows as 3 days, which is the 3-day duration, and it's showing starting on the Thursday and ending on the Saturday, which is normal because this is a seven-day work week. So work is allowed on Saturdays and Sundays. So two additional things which I'll show while we're here is this percentage thing, which is there. So let's say, okay, let's say by Thursday we say, oh, well, it's 40% done at this point. So if we enter 40, you see something happen there is that this grays out. That means this gray means done, right? So we're kind of like 1/3 done. Now because there's only 3 days, even though 40% is a little more than 1/3, it takes the closest it can. If we were instead, let's say 70% done, you can see the two of them are done now, and so on. So this is a close approximation to the amount. The other thing, just while we're here and while we're sort of introducing introductory content, let's see what it would change to if we were to change this to the other scheduling type, which is the Monday to Friday. So watch what happens with this. Okay, so you'll see a couple of things happen. It's still a 3-day duration. It still starts on April 21st. But now notice the end date has been updated to Monday because those 2 days, there's nothing happening on them. There's no work scheduled. So now your 3-day durations effectively goes over 5 calendar days because of the 2 days of non-working. So that's always an option. I'm going to change us back to 7-day for the remainder of our discussion. Okay, so let's say we have another task, which is the second one, is to create the business case document. Let's say we do that. Let's say we have PG, and there's another person being added as well. Let's say that is a 2-day task. We're not even started that yet. Now in this one, let's say that we want this to start on Sunday, April 24th. Okay, so one option we could do would be to put in April 24th there, and it would work like that. Okay, so that is one option. There's another option though, which creates more capability, more power, which is to say, okay, let's blank that out. So remember, we can always change the start date, never change, don't ever update the end date. Okay, so the other thing we can do with this is we can say, okay, let's make it dependent on the develop options task. Okay, so let's make it, after when it finishes, then we'll start create business case, which is what we want to do. That's entering a dependency. Now you do that through the entry of a formula. So we say equals in the start date, start with equals, that's indicating a formula. Okay, so we say equals, and then click on the end date. Remember, we're not updating it, we're just clicking on it. Okay, equals F10. Now you see we're still down in the start date. Equals F10. We could have also typed F10. And then we say add 1 day plus 1. That's meaning plus 1 day. And so we press enter, and now that creates the activity. And again, the end date is calculated automatically. You don't have to do anything there. Now, why is a dependency perhaps superior in some cases? Well, because then if, let's say, we came back and said, oh, that's not, develop options not going to take us 3 days, it's going to take us 4 days. And we change this to 4, watch what happens when I press enter. Everything shifts. So this start date also shifted because it is dependent on the end date of develop options. So that's just a little more elegant way of scheduling activities. Okay, so let's just go on. I won't enter many of these, but we'll just show another little bit here. We could say another work package is the project charter. And let's say we're going to interview stakeholders, and we're going to create project chart. And we have with default, well, we'll leave it like that. And then on this one, let's say this is just PG only. Okay, so duration, let's say we have a 5-day duration of that. It is 0%. And we will say, well, when we're done the business case, then we can start interviewing the stakeholders. So again, we can use a dependency. We'll say equals the end date of that. Now, we could start the next day. We could start the same day as that, or we could start multiple days after. You have lots of flexibility. For example, if we wanted to start interviewing stakeholders on the same day we finished creating the business case, we could just leave it like that. And you notice what it does there, to see the way it's scheduling on the same day. Or we could say, no, that's not what we wanted there. So we could add, let's say, after a couple of days, right? So we would say maybe +2. And that would do that. Actually, that was 1 day more. If we wanted a couple of days, I'll just double click on here. A couple of days would be +3. That then leaves 2 blank days. So you have lots and lots of flexibility. Create the project charter. Again, maybe that's 2 days. We haven't started yet. And we would say equals the end date +1. Okay, so you see that there. Now you notice I'm fitting in within the space I've got here. There's various times when you need additional rows. So and to do that, you may insert rows. To do that, just click underneath where you want to insert. Now there's various approaches that you can take. Okay, so you can if we click the down, we increase our ribbon a little bit there, we can insert a row. Okay, so that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to right mouse click. There, if I clicked on my right mouse button, I'd also be able to insert a row. So one way or another, you can do it. Now I'm going to enter a special type of task or activity, which is a milestone. So this is, let's say at this point, we are saying initiating phase complete, which that looks like a milestone. Now, notice when you enter new ones, it's left justified. To make it at the same, notice how the tasks are all indented a little bit. You can just indent them, right? So if you just click that twice, that'll bring it into a good level of indentation. Generally, you don't assign people to milestones. A milestone you signify as having a 0-day duration. So you press 0. Okay. We're not done this milestone yet. Okay. And now what we can enter here is when the milestone will be done. Now, it will be done when everything above it is done. And so you should enter equals once the project charter is done, because you can see that that's the last activity. So if we say when it is done, you have achieved your milestone. Now notice milestones look a little different. They have that little starburst in the middle, and that indicates a milestone complete. One little thing is when you do complete your milestone, so as we work this through, these will eventually turn into 100%, hopefully, but you complete all these, and this will become, say, 100%. Once this becomes 100%, your milestone is now achieved. And if you update your milestone to be 100% complete, it turns red. So that's another little feature, is that milestones, when they are complete, pop out in terms of red. Now, there's going to be times too where you don't have enough room, right? So we've got 2 work packages. Let's say there was another work package underneath within the initiating phase. So you need more room. Well, again, we need to insert rows first. So we click under where we need to, and then we click insert, right? So we can do it here. We can click once, twice. Let's give enough room for 4 rows. So I'm going to click that 4 times. So there we've got it there. And let's say that we want to, we got to bring this light sort of bluish one down. So we click the whole row. Okay, so click the entire row and then copy it. Now there's various ways to do it. You can click copy here. You can right mouse click and copy. There, it's copied. Click the whole row where it's going to go and then paste. Again, we can do it here. Okay, so now we've copied it down. Now we would have to change the name of this because it's got the same name. Okay, and so you can do that, and then you can enter your tasks here. You can also copy rows from various places. For example, if we wanted to, if there was an instance where we wanted to copy this row, right, we want to take all that data there. Again, click the whole row, right mouse click, copy, and we could paste it. Where's paste? There's paste. Paste it there. Okay. Now you need to then, you're copying over formulas and so on. So you would need to update the formulas and so on in that row. So with copying, you need to be a little careful, especially when there's formulas involved. I'll just undo that. So that's the way you can get more room to enter more information. The same thing is true if you need to, for example, you have room here for 6 phases. There could be an instance where you need more, right? You need more phases than that. Let's say you have a project with more phases than the typical 4. There are some projects. Again, you'll need to enter more rows. Now, notice this line, always insert above this. Do not try to go below this row, right? You need to insert above this. So you can either highlight here and insert, or you can highlight this blank row and insert, right? Actually, don't ever insert copied cells. So I currently have, that's actually a good thing to show. There's a copy that's in process somewhere. Be careful with that. I'm just going to press escape and stop that. Don't insert copied rows. So in this case, you could highlight that, right mouse click, and insert rows. Okay, so that's the way you can create more space at the bottom. For example, if we wanted to create another phase and we wanted to copy this whole thing, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we could just start to do that. So I'm going to insert 5 more. I've inserted a number there. Just wait for it to catch up a little bit. There's actually only 5, so I'll just do a couple of more. See if it got that, just lagging behind a little bit. So yeah, so now what we can do is copy those, or I selected those, Notice I'm selecting the whole row, right mouse click, copy, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right mouse click, paste. There you are. Okay, so that's copied that over. Now again, you'll have to change that name and so on. The only other thing that is useful to show here is that there may be times when you want to cut and paste. For example, let's say you realize that this interview stakeholders really is in the wrong spot. You want it between 14 and 15. Let's say you wanted to do that. You could insert. Now again, you need a landing place, so you need to insert a row. Okay, that creates a blank spot. You should cut this. So again, you highlight and highlight the entire row. Do not, especially when cutting and pasting, but at any time, don't just select those fields. Select the entire row. Then you cut, and then paste. Okay. That cut the entire one there. So it just moved it from there to there. Now, notice when you do that, it kind of disrupts the formatting over here. If you do that, if you use cut and paste, just delete the row that you cut, right? The empty row. Again, you do that by highlighting the entire row, right mouse click, delete. Okay, and there we did a cut and paste, right? But really ensure that you do those steps of you highlight the entire row, cut, paste to an empty spot, and then delete the blank row that you started with. That's a way you can use cut and paste if you need to move rows around, but you need to be careful when you're doing it. Those are the major functions that are involved with MSG. It's a useful tool for maintaining your schedule, and hopefully you found this video informative.